Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Where I Went Wrong. In this edition, I'll be doing Where I Went Wrong, UFC Vegas 42, Holloway versus Rodriguez. So I went wrong a lot of places this card. Matter of fact, I went more wrong than I went right. I went 7-4, or no, that's the opposite way. I went 4-7, not 7-4. Well, 7 losses to 4 wins. I'll be able to cut it, but I went 4-7. Let's say it again: 4-7, 4-7, 4-7, 4-7, 4-7. This is not me trying to flip, revisionist history right here. I'm not doing revisionist history. I went 4-7. Correct. Yeah, 4-7. So I just said like 20 times, so you get the picture. Terrible card, worst card of the year for me thus far. Maybe worse will come, but let's not speak that into existence. But worst card of the year for me. Did terrible, but even in this terror, there's a shining green light in a way. And also, when I look at the thing, favorites was 6 of 11. So favorites was a plus number. You just pick pure favorites. But yeah, so favorites ain't do all that great either. It was a pretty toss-up card, and there were a lot of questionable things that did happen on the card. But yeah, but it was clearly issues like that to learn from, and I knew going in that could have prevented such an outcome, or at least made it the bleeding less. But let's start it. So first off, in Chukwu versus Daung Jung. But this one I was leaning heavily to Jung, but no, it was not. I didn't pick Nchukwu because I'm black and he's African, and then we're like brothers type thing. I didn't pick Nchukwu because of that. I didn't. I don't know that man personally. I don't pick him because he's black. I don't pick him because he's African. I pick him because of that. I like his length. I like his height. I like his defense, or at least the fact that he did keep his hands up. But I think the biggest issue with this one was the fact that I really didn't see Nchukwu having no real path to victory. The best thing I saw him do is pull out a very close decision just by being a little more active than, maybe a little bit or a lot more active than Junk. I didn't see him being more effective necessarily. I didn't see him go out there doing like 100 punches. I didn't see him go out there having no real power. I knew Junk had the power and was the better striker, but I know that Junk kind of kept his hands low. His output did kind of drop at times. And I think the biggest factor that kind of leaned me to Nchukwu was the fact that I went back and watched that Sam Alvey fight and was so disgusted. I'd be so disgusted by people that struggle with Sam Alvey. That's just flat out the fact. It's not because he was black. It's the fact that Daung Jung legitimately struggled with Sam Alvey and ended up in a draw with Sam Alvey. And that disgusted me. Sam Alvey's fighting style has always disgusted me. He's a cool guy and all, but his fighting style disgusts me. The fact, slew-footed, slow guy with power in his hand and a smile on his face, that style it disgusts me. So anytime somebody struggles with Sam Alvey, it's not a good look for me. I think that's the biggest factor. I was leaning to Jung, he has all the factors. He could do all the damage. It's not like Nchukwu has necessarily done anything all that great. But if Sam Alvey could go out there and have his man behind on points and stuff, and then he needed to come back and have a strong third round just to get a draw, maybe Nchukwu can do it as well. And that was just leaning so heavily off this one fight. Similar to with Ryan Spann as well, but that kind of paid out for me because Ryan Spann was struggling with Sam Alvey, almost had to get saved by the bell. So imagine what Anthony Smith going to do to this man. And I don't know. Again, it's not a great track record just to lean based off that. Daung Jung has got better since that fight. And I did see that the William Knight was the biggest growth in that skill set I've seen. I knew the Rodriguez fight, but yeah, I got too caught up on the Sam Alvey factor of that fight. And that's in the past. Not a good look, but that's in the past. And then I definitely, like I said, it's not really good to lean someone when I could have saw Jung knocking out Nchukwu. I could see Jung, this landing the heavier strikes and beating him to decision based off landing the heavier, more effective strikes. But all I could see, probably winning a dominant fight, close fight. But all I could see for Nchukwu was winning a fight by the skin of his teeth or whatever the case. And I didn't see him stopping Jung. I didn't see him having the power to stop Jung. It's not like Jung would get tired. I didn't see his case, Jung's going to have bad cardio. So my only thing was a very close decision was my possibility of Nchukwu winning, even with all that being said. So it wasn't that, I already knew that wasn't the smartest thing. That was a good reach. So that was definitely very much avoidable. The next fight, I think Liana Jojua versus Casey, I forget her name, Courtney Casey. In this fight, I'm gonna be honest, I predicted that fight 4 or 5 months ago when the Poser first originally happened. But when I did pick that fight all those months ago, I picked it for Jojua highly based on the fact that Casey was coming off that loss to I forget her name right now. But either way, she's come off a fight where I picked her to win, and she won a pretty close, she lost a pretty close controversial decision. And I didn't like the fact that she gives up takedowns to literally anyone who wants them. And that's really a big factor in why she did lose that close fight she did lose. So it was like really like a bit of a petty pick right there. So and now even when I put the confidence, when I first made it, when I still had very, very low confidence, I had very, very low confidence fight. So the absolute lowest confidence I've ever had in a fight, I picked Joshua. And then I readjusted now. Low is the very bottom. So I said low confidence. So it still was a low confidence, as low as my confidence can get for a pick. And Joshua was still low key. She kind of did her thing low key enough. Like she did get a takedown every round, but she waited till like the very last minute or very last 30 seconds of every round to go for a takedown and scored him. But what's that gonna do when you get outstruck the whole round? Nothing. So, and there was plenty of opportunities, but it's not a case. Courtney Casey, she's not this over the hill journey woman just yet. I mean, she's still probably going to end up being a journey woman. I can't see her climbing to no title fight or nothing, unless maybe she go to women's one. She bulks up and goes to 145, where you only got to win one fight to get a title shot, or just be the only woman there, and that could be very possible. But at 125, 115, not saying it. 135, not saying it, but it is what it is. I think Casey, the thing I got to look at Casey going forward is, unless the person's actually solid or just such a great talent and come out of nowhere, or they a solid person that has been around the division holding their own, and will have not be just strikers. Even like the best strikers, the best strikers will probably pick her apart, but like the strikers that have been around and not really mixing it up, I would say like the real solid strikers and that have been sticking around are just relatively speaking, and a woman that will mix it up with her that actually are pretty solid. Not this woman like JoJo, who's still kind of like, she's a greenhorn. She's still coming up in her record with like 1-3 in the UFC, or 1-2 or something like that. Not really the greatest record, and still very much greenhorn. And it's not like she's a wrestler or anything like that. She was able to get takedowns, but it's not like she's like I said, she's a greenhorn. When you put against Casey, you got to be somebody that's like solid and been around and been able to stick around and pack some wins together. And actually solid, credible wins. JoJo is far from credible. And that's why I say low confidence. I really want to do, I can see very, very low, absolutely zero confidence in this pick. That's what I will really say with that pick. So both of those first two picks were very much avoidable. Then also in that fight, it was the Alves versus the Jacasey fight. That was before the Joshua fight. So I went 0-3 to start the card. But yeah, Jacasey versus Alves, I don't feel like it was a bad pick. It was not, to me, a bad pick. Because it's not like we know so much about Rafael Alves necessarily. I think the real villain of this card is Damir Ismagulov. He had 3 wins over fighters on this card, and 3 pretty clear wins. He had wins over Moises. He had wins over, what's his name? Big Boy Alvarez and Alves. So he had wins over Joel Alvarez, and he also had wins over Rafael Alves. So he had 3 wins over these guys, and that's a guy that's creeping up this welterweight division. Or what is it, lightweight division, man? They got some big lightweights. I be thinking they welterweights, but yeah, these big boys creeping up this division. That's gonna be both Alvarez and Damir Ismagulov, and also Rafael Alves. They're gonna creep up this division, and right now those wins, when Damir Ismagulov beat them, might not mean too much, but they're gonna look back like, damn, this guy been building up a resume. A lot of those guys that you don't know about right now, later on gonna be the guys that, where they come from. And right now, that's why you watch these card writers, because then later on when they do come up, if nobody know who they are, you're going to very much know who they are. But yeah, at this given juncture, I'm still learning who they are, because I was still kind of attaching them to what Damir Ismagulov did to them, and got to realize Damir Ismagulov is just on a different level than a lot of these guys. But that's not the full state of it. I just feel like the biggest mistake I made with Rafael Alves, or the 2 biggest mistakes I made with Rafael Alves, was again forgetting who Damir Ismagulov is, and that everybody not gonna be able to do everybody like Damir Ismagulov does people at this level. Maybe they get up the rankings, but at this given level, I'm not gonna see a lot of people do that to the people that, well, a lot of word jumbling. But either way, that was one big factor. And the second big factor is I labeled him as a man with questionable cardio outside the first round. I mean, we did not see him. It was a first fight ending a minute. So you can't really say his cardio was tested, but I'm not gonna rate him as a guy that has bad cardio just yet, because his best round, or I guess his most energy-filled round, the most active round, was the 3rd round against Damir Ismagulov. Also, he did drop Damir Ismagulov in the 1st round, but either way. And also, I can't say, this fight was predictable necessarily, because you can say, Dan Hooker got him in guillotine. He got him frustrated, and he went for a takedown. Dan Hooker choked him out, but Dan Hooker is like 6'3" at 155, whereas Rafael Alves is like 5'6", 5'7". So he had a clear height disadvantage against Dan Hooker, but against Rafael Alves, Mark Jacasey looked like a much bigger man, vertically. Yes, Ismagulov, not Ismagulov, but Alves got those nice chisel muscle, but he's looked kind of short and compact for the weight class. But Hey, I thought he would be able to take him out, extend him out the first round, and then be able to be the cleaner, smoother technician throughout the second and third. Like I thought that would be the case, but we did not see him make it past the first round. And it's not like the fight played out so much, so you can't say this and this and that. But one thing which going forward, I'm gonna kind of put him at the similar level as I put him with JaCasey, or a little bit higher than JaCasey. But again, I'm not. It's not so much intel you get necessarily gain from this fight. Yes, he got power. We knew that. Yes, he got grappling. We knew that. He was able to connect on JaCasey, and we know JaCasey when hurt, he goes for the takedowns, and the guillotine was there. So it's not like, I mean, it can be predictable, but it wasn't a case of, oh, it was so predictable. Because I know JaCasey has been able with some real solid strikers, and been able to go the full distance. Not really a quitter or anything, but yeah, somewhat like it. Like the level of prediction on this is very, very light. It would be a difficult pick to pick accurately with confidence. And it just, like I said, a fight that did not extend as much as I would have liked it to extend and really be able to get intel with. So I can't necessarily hold myself low at all for that pick, but not a bad pick. And in hindsight, I would not change my pick, like in hindsight. But going forward, it's a lot to, I mean, like I said, it's a minute. What can I really learn from that? Not too much. Because people go out there and have spectacular performance all the, like, matter of fact, every single day, a guy knocking somebody out, then the next performance, they looking like a dud. But I know Rafael was a solid dude, but all I'm saying, there's not a whole lot to necessarily draw from that fight, is all I'm saying. So, not a lot of intel, but I'll make my little adjustments going forward with Rafael Alves and make some little bit going forward to Casey. But ultimately, my opinion on these guys has not really changed too much. Outside of Alves, I'm not going to put no knock on his cardio just yet. Like, that was a little bit early to put on him. I'm not going to put it on. But again, it hasn't been proven necessarily yet. But it hasn't been proven wrong or right necessarily yet in the UFC. But going forward, I'm not going to hold it on him just yet, depending on who he's fighting. Unless he fights some cardio machine, wrestler, striker, that's going to look to mix it up with him. And, like, yeah, then maybe I might try to factor it against him. But in a striking matchup with guys primarily a striker, I'm not going to factor it against him just yet necessarily. And really, even like low level grappler, I'm not going to factor against him just yet. Or, matter of fact, not even just yet. I'm not going to factor against him until proven otherwise. Exactly. That's what I'm going to go with that. So that's the first three fights. There was the fourth fight. I think Calvillo versus Andrea Lee, and another fight where I'm not gonna factor against myself so much. I got it wrong. A lot of people were right on this, so I had a good read on this fight. I did not myself, because it's not like Andrea Lee went on a pretty bad streak. Then she beat Antonina Shevchenko, so it's kind of like she went on 3-fight losing streak. Then she beat the easiest woman in the division, basically. So what can I really do with that? You beat the easiest woman in the division. I said, give me the easiest person out there. Give me Ryan Bader, and you beat Antonina Shevchenko. What does that really mean? A lot. Calvillo was kind of skidding, but at least she was fighting decent competition. People that fought for the belt and stuff. So it's like, Andrade, you can't really even factor against that. Andrade will do that to everyone. And then Katlyn Chookagian, she had been working a lot on her grappling and offensively and defensively. And she's been a pretty good output fighter. She puts up pretty high output every single time. A difficult style matchup. And forced to a competitive fight. So Andrea Lee looked good against a bum, or seemingly a bum, or fighting to be a bum is it right now, in Antonina Shevchenko. So it was like I looked at Relino and I looked at her stats, and a league can pretty much give a takedowns every single fight. All I would kind of say, this has been the best Andrea Lee we have ever seen so far. She's reinvigorated, rejuvenated. She still get bodied by, I think, the best in the division, but as far as getting past Calvillo, she looked good, looked the best she looked, and I think she's going to be a good person to look out for betting wise going forward, depending on how they match her, unless they try to throw her heavily, rush her to the top. But they coast her up. I can see her going like a good streak and looking good and potentially getting a title shot in next year. But probably not next year, probably like the end of next year, or like start of 2023. But looking pretty good, looks solid, put on a great performance. Calvillo on this side, definitely been disappointing. I obviously didn't pick her against Andrade, but looked disappointed. This fight, Andrade was expected, and then the Chookagian fight a little bit disappointing, but in retrospect, it wasn't all that disappointing. It was a good performance by Chookagian, and she was a tough out. But this fight is the most disappointing fight for her, in my opinion. The fact that she pretty much quit on the stool, she got dominated, got picked apart, and quit on the stool. So great performance from Andrea Lee. Stocks rise back up to where they used to be, maybe even higher. Cynthia Calvillo, her stocks dropped to as low as they have been. Like, she really got to do some soul searching, but definitely big disappointment in her. But as far as me, from what I saw, it was not a whole lot for me to draw. I knew where Andrea Lee's striking used to be, but I worried about her defense, her head movement, a lot of different things, her takedown defense. And I feel like there was an avenue, so it wasn't a case of where I just was pulling feathers out of a cap. I just from what I saw, it's pretty good. I felt a good read on Calvillo, but it did not play out. It played out like Andrea Lee was the lock and the clear favorite. I mean, the clear this and clear that. I mean, she was the underdog, but like it looked like there was the complete opposite out there. But great performance by Andrea Lee. Again, the best performance of her career. Calvillo, the worst performance of her career, and she needs to again do some soul searching. So like 4 fights. Fifth fight. What's the fifth fight? I'm not even realize it's on the camera, but let me think. All right. I had to dig into my memory for a second there, but yeah, the next fight we had in the lightweight division, Thiago Moises versus Joel Alvarez. And again, let me just take a little sidestep. Another error with this card is this happens when you try to reach for a couple dogs and your dogs don't bite for the most part. Largely for the most part, your dogs don't bite. Maybe like one of your dogs bite. So you go dog heavy on a card, and then your dogs don't bite. And then on top of your dogs not biting, dogs you didn't pick bite. Like they bite heavy. So that's what happened with this card. Like that's why it's good to take a central base. And I don't think it's a case of just chasing dogs necessarily is the issue on my part with this card. It was just chasing far-fetched things like that. I was even too confident in. Like I want to like I maybe have one or two. Matter of fact, maybe one of those picks. You have like maybe 3 confident. Maybe if they're really truly confident dogs, you go with them. But if these just like fighters that kind of like long shots or just all pettiness picks, it's not a smart path. And I typically don't play that. So it was a case where it was definitely a step back. Like, overall, it was a tough card, but on top of a tough card, it's just some amateurish thoughts. I mean, in picks, I went with some of these, with some. Somebody might say all of them. Somebody say this is clear as clear, but I don't feel like it was all of them. Like I said, I feel like the Alves fight wasn't really all that great. It was not a great read necessarily. And the fight only lasted like a minute. So it's not like it was so much intel, so much just to draw from that necessarily. And then, like I said, now another fight on that along those lines, like Calvillo versus Lee. Not a whole lot of great necessarily intel. Not like a great body of work necessarily to generate such great intel on that fight either going forward. Especially track workers, but I guess you could follow momentum and yeah, but some of the fights, a lot of intel to draw from, but not a whole lot necessarily pinpointing going into those fights is what I'm saying. But yeah, now in this fight we had in lightweight Moises versus Alvarez. And Alvarez, like I said, this is like I brought up the Damir Ismagulov X Factor guy. He beat both these men right here, and he also beat Rafael Alves. So he beat a lot of people on this card that are been doing pretty well for himself and beat him pretty clear, pretty dominant. But Joe Alvarez, we have not really seen him in a real good fight. He beat like a couple bums, maybe like 2. Beat Joe Duffy and maybe one other decent guy. He beat like 2 bums, maybe like 2 decent guys. Now he got like a 3rd decent guy on his record. Matter of fact, he probably beat like 1 decent guy. I don't know, either way. It's like 50-50. He beat some, he's rising up the ranks. You're going to fight some not less than good guys. And then you're going to fight some good guys. Like, so he got like half and half at this given point. And now he got like kind of leaning to the more the good half. And he's only going to fight better guys as he goes up now. But had it for the most people. Takedown offense was at 0%, still at 0%. And Moises did not attempt a single takedown. I mean, the fight didn't last very long. He got destroyed, he got wrecked, got ran through, got bulldozed. So again, not a whole lot to judge from. But what I will say from Joel Alvarez, with that height, that reach, the man like a super heavyweight at welterweight, at lightweight. There's not even a welterweight at lightweight. This man is super heavyweight fighting at lightweight. This man is a cheat code. But yeah, you got him big as he is. Takedown defense is still very questionable. But unless he goes against a guy that's like a real solid wrestler with like shutdown grappling defense, could go for these big takedowns and be smother you and sniff out your submission attempts and just beat you on the ground and maybe be a mix up on the field a little, maybe like Kobe Covenant type people on around that level. I feel like he's gonna be able to cut, like rise up this division pretty fast. But again, that takedown defense being at 0% is still very questionable. But again, Moises did not attempt a single takedown, got picked apart. But with that height, and now we've got to see a good little bit glimpse of his striking. That man gonna be a problem for a lot of people in this division. I think he'll rise up the rankings pretty fastly. So he's going to be a problem for a good little minute. But I definitely that's wrestling and grappling going to be a question mark. We know he got that good guillotine. But like I said, what he's going to do when a guy is able to use that guillotine against him. And I thought Moises would be able to do that. Like I did have a lot of questions going into this fight, but I saw that 0% takedown defense. I saw him going against a grappler, so I leaned heavily to Moises. First it was like kind of like average or maybe low confidence for Moises. And then I saw that 0% takedown defense rate going against a grappler who can definitely neutralize his guillotine. And I went with Moises with like high con. I did not go a lot because I still knew with some questionable factors. And again, it played out in the worst case scenario that I thought could happen. But yeah, I definitely had some factors, but I did lean heavily due to that fact that his takedown defense is at 0% and going against a grappler, again, who can address the guillotine without much issue. But grappling did not play a single factor in this fight. He just got minced up and did not attempt to take down. And I think before he can like even get his brain back, and his brain was already scrambled, he was already lost at Darren Haylights. So he can even think to try to go for a takedown, try to initiate a clinch, and it's got turned into a dinner on live TV. But yeah, I fight. Reality. I can't really hold it too much against myself for that pick. I knew what it was going in that fight. I knew it was very questionable, but some questions were answered. Some questions still are unanswered. But going forward, Joe Alvarez will definitely have some big eyes on him. But a loss nonetheless by inch or a mile, and this was a mile in the plan, but a pick I can't necessarily hold my head low at all on because there was not necessarily a great amount of intel going in, and we have not seen too much of Joe Alvarez, especially we not have seen the extended bits of him striking. And we did, Demirs Magomedov just schooled him, so it's not like, and that was also like 3 years ago. And people he did be like, again, weren't all that great necessarily. Joe Duffy was pretty solid, but that fight ended in like a guillotine, only lasted less than a round. So yeah. Then the other fight, what else fight was on there? So then the other fight, Song Yadong versus Julio Arce. And definitely could hold my head low on this pick. But even at this given point right here, in hindsight, in retrospect, in whatever the case may be, I don't think Arce was a bad dog. But, and I would like to say, maybe if I did pick less dogs on the card, maybe I pick more confidence picks and then go, with my inklings and just stuck with, the facts necessarily, or at least stuck with the more solid picks. This probably would have been one of the ones I would have kept. I would have been wrong, but I would have kept it. But I don't feel like all too bad about picking Arce and Dog. But the issue why I should not pick Arce is not even the fact that Dong is going to go out there and just destroy him and wreck him like he did. But the fact that the only way I was expecting Arce to win was by the decision. I knew Arce would not be able to stop Song. I did not put. I had put zero confidence in him stopping. I knew that Song Yadong is very hard to stop, very durable, very young, very fresh, and the guys are going to be tough to stop. I have not seen nobody come close to stopping him or ever even put him any question to stop him. So the big decision. Also, Song Yadong has only lost one decision, and that was like Kyler Phillips. And that was why I did pick him. Then that's another reason why I kind of started leaning against him. Prior to that, I was like, going to decision, I'm pick Song Yadong. And then I picked him, he lost. Then I picked against him. I saw Casey Kenny could do similar things. He won. So I guess with Song Yadong, better to pick him than pick against him. Like, better to pick him than pick against him. There's only been one time where he lost a decision. And I think he's improved a lot since then. I think he would beat Kyler Phillips in a rematch pretty comfortably. I think he beat Cody Stamann. I think Cody Stamann, I'm speaking like a British person, or Australian, but in the last fight, Cody Stamann, well, not his last fight, but like in the past, in the UFC DC card, Cody Stamann clearly won that fight, but they made it a draw. But that's the past now. He eked out and got lucky on that one by getting a draw. But they fight again, you get the luck. You got away with one, and now you're much better. I think he would destroy Cody Stamann at this point. But also, we got to see him go against guys who try to wrestle more. But yeah, this was a fight, like pretty a striking match of what played out to be, and Song Yadong was dominant. But the best thing I could have did is Song Yadong really don't lose decisions. He only lost maybe one decision in his career in the UFC. And if that's the only bank to bet on it in a very close fight, you got to lean to Song Yadong, whether it be by dominant, by inch or a mile. More than likely, Song Yadong's going to win a decision victory. More than likely. Way more than likely he's going to win. So it's not really great things to lean to against him in a decision fight. And now, looking at it from the now perspective, not the going in perspective, like this is me talking to myself from the present to the past about that, as far as picking Song Yadong. But as far as like seeing what I've seen from Song Yadong out here, right, last night or whatnot, I'm not picking against Song Yadong unless he fights like Peter Yan or Piotr Yan or Corey Sandhagen. That's probably the only people I will pick against him at 135 at this given point. I think he's going to rise right up the ranks. He look like a monster. And until proven otherwise, I'm going to lean to him. Until somebody else gets something different, I feel like he's going to be the rise up division, and I'm not picking against Song Yadong until he fights one of those guys. And I feel like, I don't know. Peter, will he beat Corey Sandhagen? There's a chance. I got to see more. But against Peter Yan, it's definitely, I think Peter Yan would definitely beat him. Definitely. Peter Yan, I feel like will be on that belt for a long, long time, and probably going down as the bantamweight GOAT from what I've seen from him. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that fight. And then the final fight, Another fight I really, 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 really cannot hold my head low on at all. Like at all. It's a heavyweight fight. Ben Rothwell versus I already forget his name. He kind of irrelevant, but hey, he won. Marcos Rogerio de Lima. And like just judging based off both the careers, Marcos Rogerio de Lima has one round cardio, and what did happen? A 1 round finish. Like yes, he got a win, but he improved nothing so different about him. He can go out and fight on his toes and be twinkle toes down his shoulder with such a technical, skilled fighter. He went out there, kicked his leg, swung big shots, and put him out. It wasn't not no great technical performance. He just got hand raised the only way he knows how. I think in last fight he fought a decision victory, by the way. Was not super impressed by his performance necessarily. I mean, it's a brutal knockout, but it don't answer any questions that you have about him. It didn't show his ability to stretch rounds or be to fight super smart or be able to conserve his energy or do anything different other than what he's already done is all I'm saying. And I guess the biggest thing it would be is not to be so confident on a heavyweight fight. And also when a guy's heavily relying, you're heavily a bit of your confidence relying on the durability of a guy. Like Ben Rothwell has been there with, like I said, a lot of guys. He's never been finished like that. Well, maybe against Arlovsky so many years back. But outside of that, you're really reaching for straws to ever see him hurt like that. Matter of fact, there is no other cases of that outside the Arlovsky fight. The man has never been finished like that. You could say, Cain Velasquez, but it's nowhere near that. Matter of fact, he was fully conscious. He was just like a position domination for Cain Velasquez. Arlovsky was like a similar, but not even as brutal. So, yes, you just don't really see that happen to Rothwell. You usually be able to take shots much better. But again, you guys getting old, and you can't rely necessarily putting so much on somebody's durability, especially a fighter that's older up in there. Maybe like a younger fighter's durability, they're going to have that for a good bit. A tested younger guy, but a tested older guy, it's always that gamble that eventually that chin going to start to wear down. And I don't think it's the case that your chin wearing down. Marcos Rogerio de Lima hits pretty hard. And yeah, it is what it is. I can't feel too low on that pick. And in most cases, I'm going to pick against Rogerio de Lima in similar cases or similar situation. We got a guy who's been inconsistent, been mediocre in large portions of the career with questionable cardio versus a veteran, who's able to either address that power or take that power, extend the past 1 round, and then take advantage of their lack of cardio. I'm like 100% of the times I'm going to pick the Rothwell in the situation, whether it be Rothwell or some other guy. I mean, obviously after this point, I'm not picking Rothwell in a rematch, but a guy that would be the Rothwell in that scenario, the guy that's the veteran, the durable guy, the guy that can extend his 3 rounds, take the power and dish it back. But even when you got let me say one thing, even when you got you can have the best analysis, the perfect pick, how to play out 900 times out of 901 times. But even you got a perfect pick, it's not always going to play out perfectly. It's not always the case. And you can have the worst pick ever. You can know zero thing out. You could be literally poop your pick out of your butthole. I've been saying butthole a lot, but let me say you could literally just vomit out the worst trash pick analysis you ever had in your life, and it could be right. So just because it's a good pick or a good prediction, don't mean it's always going to go the way it's supposed to go. At the end of the day, this is human cockfighting. In a fight, stuff happens. But I definitely think Rogerio Lima is riding some momentum. But either way, I don't see him going too much further. He's going to run into the same guys that have beat him recently. These younger guys that's not going to strike him. Going to look to put him on his back and then just put their arm on his neck or tap him out. But maybe get past some of the other guys. Maybe be like a Chris Barnett type level people or be some of these people out here. But I feel like he's going to run into a brick wall pretty soon. It's like he don't got a very high ceiling. Like I said, he got that puncher's chance in the first round with just about anyone. But the guy that's really legit, he only got that, to be honest. But not the greatest card for me, but a lot to learn from. And going forward, not gonna make is necessarily as many risky picks. They might be risky on paper, but they aren't all that risky because it's outside now. Like I'm not gonna be leaning necessarily to guys just because. Like I'm not leaning just because, and not because they have an inkling of a chance of winning, but they got to have a real solid chance of winning. Not just he's gonna eke out a decision barely. When I know the other guy could stop him or win the decision just well. But yeah, there was a couple of picks where it was like the Joshua. Joshua was one. It was in Nchukwu one. RC I would have filled it. So I really kind of 2 out of the 7. Kind of feel maybe 2 or 3, but either way, stuff to draw from. But going forward, again, not going to be so quick to lean on something just because it has an inkling of a chance, or it's you're trying to force something like that. And I said that before. You don't try to force predictions. You see what the seed, and don't try to dig any deeper typically, because unless it's something actually to go off of, it's not really much to to reach off. And some of them like I don't feel like all my picks were like, oh, I was reachable on them, but definitely like 2 of them were for sure reaches. Like the Jojo was a lot of a reach. The Nchukwu was a lot of reach, and really just off of not liking the fact that Jung struggled with Sam Alvey. I did not like that. And that's that fight was like 2-3 years ago. So I don't know why I'm digging with that. Still digging with a recent. It was just, that was the last thing I saw, and I just like had a bad taste in my mouth. And I just leaned to Nchukwu. But either way, it is what it is. Bad card, but I'm gonna kill the next couple cards. Matter of fact, I'll kill the rest of this year. And I'm predicting it. I'm speaking into existence. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.